This is fire color wine.
That's fire color wine.
Thank you.
It's like a light fire opal or amber.
What does that?
Why don't you keep it up there just for 1 second?
Sure. This is the 2008 vintage of the same wine you're just trying.
So it's Rkatsiteli that gives the orange.
Rkatsiteli. Rkatsiteli has little pink and orange dots on it. It actually is more peach color than white color. But it's a really special wine, and this was just a really awesome year. We have sold out of this wine. Probably many of you know or have heard of Jancis Robinson, but she gave this wine probably the highest rating of any Georgian wine she had tried, and was really excited about it. She's coming here next April, end of April. She had it a year ago.
And that's the wine that we are having now?
No, you had the 2000.
No, I didn't have anything.
You didn't have anything. So this is the 2010 Rkatsiteli that we're having.
Thank you.
Just let me.
And that's an 08, did you say?
This is an 08. That's 10.
This is Rkatsiteli 2010.
Yeah, we always hold back a certain amount just to see how they. If we had been rich enough to keep them back from the market, what would have happened? And this is one of the ones where we're like, damn, if we knew it was going to be this good, we would have taken out a bank loan and just operate our cash flow and held on to the wine. But we're growing to a place where we're slowly expanding the amount that we can make, and hopefully the idea is to be able to bring. The world seems to be divided. I've got some London and New York wine bars owners that absolutely love the vigilance and the youthful life in the younger wines, and then I have people that are saying, well, this is good, but it absolutely would be much better if you held it back for 3 years. And it's really about half and half. A lot of Scandinavian countries really gravitate to the younger, fresher quality in the wines, and the more Mediterranean you get, the more the wine buyers really, they don't age in it. There than in the Alazani Valley. Next one we're going to try, I'm not moving on, but leading you up to it, is really special, the 2008, and right.
That's the one.
The 2010 is one we actually have in the US, so it's in limited amount. We only make about 2,000 bottles of this a year up till now, but we're taking over some neighboring vineyards, and I think this year we'll have, in 2011, about 5,000 bottles.
What are your hopes for the 2010 developing in the bottle?
There's wines that we're making that we feel like need more time in the bottle. I feel like this is drinking quite interestingly now, but it will become more focused and more concentrated a flavor the more time it has. Basically, all the different parts will come together in a more kind of focused, poignant way.
And do you find that tannin softens?
How many quiver was that?
2,000 bottles was 1 quiver.
1 quiver. So, with those ones that you make more than one quiver,
problems with
are they very different?
Yes, they are different.
And blend them or not?
It depends. If we think that they are beautifully different and they both could be celebrated for different reasons, we won't blend, but we won't send both of them to the same marketplace. We might say, well, let's give this to the Japanese and this to the Swedish, for instance. If we feel like there's something lacking in both of them that would improve the wine to consolidate it and mix it, then we do have some blending tanks that we can pump the wine up to before pouring. This, for instance, was one that had just much brighter acidity than the 2008 Rkatsiteli that we brought initially to market, and the acidity was so bright that we just didn't know what was going to happen with it. So we held it back here, and then 3 years later it became what we thought was the best wine we had. And then once the word got out, when it came to the Georgian market, the Georgians gobbled it up, and now we only have about 50 bottles left. So. But being the esteemed group of wine experts you are, we decided to open up a bottle.
Thank you.
So it's the 2008 Mitzvani?
It's going to be 2008 Rkatsiteli.
From Tivani.
This is from Tibani.
And the alcohols in these are all right around 13.5?
Yeah, most of them are between 12.5 and 13.5.
So this is the fire color. What is it? It says fire color?
Fire color wine.
Fire wine.
Quellas que ser arushes and commentation.
Splash more.
Sure, of course.
Wow.
It's a mouthful of wine, huh?
Yeah.
The nose full.
So since we got to the conclusion that the color is not because of oxidation, the darker, like fire color comes for the longer skin contact,
And
Longer
also
skin
the
contact,
majority,
riper grapes.
riper grapes too.
Yeah.
Riper grapes.
I don't know if that's the case. You had mentioned that there was micro-oxidation, right? And if you're going to have pigments that change color like this in a short period of time, it's hard not to have oxygen or oxidative reactions involved.
Yes, there's definitely. I think no one would deny that these wines have an oxidative nature, but it's different to have an oxidative wine and an oxidized wine.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even think you should say micro-oxidation because that's incorrect. It's really micro-oxygenation, and it's homeopathic. When the wines are challenged with oxygen, it increases their reduction.
So what does Roger Bolton have to say about the change in flavor profile? You have these primary fruit flavors are gone as they exist in Rkatsiteli, let's say when you fermented cold stainless steel. The dried fruit and the dried herbs and the other complex things that we're getting here.
In all honesty, I would be out of my scope of expertise. I could tell you a lot more about the self-portraits of Rembrandt.
And you should. I've been wondering about those.
What's the wine we're talking about it?
Basically, the way I understood was that there was a polymerization process that was taking place, and it was a chemical process that was being restructured within the wine that was happening parallel to the microoxidation and not as a result of the microoxidation. But I probably should shoot an email to Roger and get him to give me a one-paragraph answer for that in the future. Because
No, that's definitely right, that there are two kinds of, there's oxidative and non-oxidative polymerization that are happening in parallel. And all that you do when you oxygenate is you push the more open, more volume, grippier reactions that also create peroxide on the side, and otherwise you get a more compact structure, but that leads to dryness later on.
I was talking about flavor.
Yeah, but I guess the main difference is the oxidative polymerization has free rotation, so it's much more open and has more interaction with salivary protein. And the non-oxidative, you're going from grainy colloids in the beginning to something where the wine sort of gets softer and then moves towards dryness as it gets longer and longer. In the beginning, there isn't as much interaction, so the wines aren't really hard, but then they fall apart more easily.
So
See, this is one that's very balanced.
Yep. The wines-
It's so rich.
Well,
Man,
this is where, to me,
it's like biting into a mango.
but compared to the ones we had this morning, this one has the structure to support what phenolics that are there that don't come across as just.
Right, I get it. I get it. Yeah, there's this rich, oily fruit.
Also the blend.
Really?
I find it very complicated. A little blend. So
I'm not sure how something.
to gain something which is big.
So the intensity of the flavors that you get in the other ones, you don't get here.
I don't quite get it yet. But I get coming together. So let's say, stupid statement, but it's improved by 50%, but it's lost 20%. So the net gain is somewhat less.
Are you talking about the acidity, Peter?
No, I think I don't know. But for me, slightly bland compared to the others. In other words, in the process of aging, it's lost a little bit of
Edge?
grapiness or something.
I respect that, but I think this is the best balanced wine by far.
I'm not
For
talking
that
about.
matter alone, it's the best separated.
I agree with you on the issue of balance and completeness and wholeness. Just there were some primary flavors.
But I like the previous one,
Rkatsiteli.
the mixed honey.
And that's fine.
That was really good.
TC was not in great shape for me.
I don't see the black pepper here, edgy elements like that, and I don't see the acidity. So,
On this one, or
yeah, on this one, and it also doesn't have the freshness that he was talking about. Some of the markets prefer.
Yeah, but this has the balance and the maturity and
Yeah, I'm-
longevity. For
I-
me, this is one.
Hey, if you give me my
can
choice
sell this
of all the four wines, this is the one I'll take.
because it has a maturity.
But I
and
think
it's
Peter
evolved.
has a point that people can disagree about this. That the younger wines have something to recommend them
Look, I
too.
would argue that in the U.S. market, I was going to sell well.
I had a feeling I would be sitting here and worrying whether the wines were drinkable at all. I love having these discussions.
I mean, it's a little like what happened in Chardonnay, where when we first found these really big, fat, opulent, buttery wines, I think we were all pretty stoked. And then we got tired of them. And after a while, we wanted to go back to the crisper, leaner, fresher wines.
Well, the merchants of oak barrels will not be happy about what we have to say, but we, I'll tell you a quick story. When I started my winery, the bishop started his winery at the same time. And he's my spiritual father, so I go to him for confession. And I went there one day, and he was...
You're not kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And so he saw that I was had a worrisome look on my face, and I was very concerned. And he said, Ioane, he calls me Ioane, he said, Ioane, what's the matter? Why aren't you happy? He said, you have great wines, your paintings are doing well, you have so much to celebrate. And I said, well, Bishop David, we're really struggling financially, and, some people are telling us, some of our friends, that if we really can't get good French oak barrels, we'll never be able to sell our red wines at a proper price, and we looked at the prices, and we can't afford it. I don't know how we're ever going to get our way out of this dilemma. And the bishop smiled, and he says, I bless you with both of my hands to never use oak barrels. If you're using a Quevri, then he said that if you put a Quevri wine into oak, it's like taking a Georgian warrior from the Highlands and putting a tie on top of it. And he said, so don't worry. He said, this is not a problem, don't worry. And ever since we proudly have not been using oak, even though we